Hello and welcome, Exiles. Today I got some sad news. Sad news being I spent all of yesterday farming and changing gear pieces so I could swap on this jewel, the Adorned. I went around and I made like 8 magic jewels with life, crit multi, pretty much on all of them except a couple I have maybe life in an all res or life in a couple other stats. The point is, I got a lot of magic jewels. They got a lot of power behind them thanks to the Adorned jewel I have here. And I made this tree and I swapped everything around. I was really excited about it. And unfortunately, there's a terrible bug. And the terrible bug is the Adorned jewel actually deactivates itself every single time you change the zone. You'll notice I have 11,700 ES and my average hit is 700k. That's not actually what my build really has. You'll notice if I unequip and re-equip this jewel, we go to 14,700 and my average hit's actually almost 1200,000. That's a pretty big bug, and it hurts a lot, especially things like Sanctum, which I like to do for currency, because you swap zones a lot. And you can see this happen, like I'll go swap into a Menagerie to showcase it. We're back to 11k, and then it also, you don't just have to swap out a Adorned jewel, you can swap out any of your jewels, but basically you have to retell the game, hey, look at my jewel sockets, check if they're actually correct. So if I took this jewel, for example, and I swapped it out, that would also reset it back to the correct 14k and higher hit damage. But it's one of those things where it's just like, man, that's kind of a bummer, because my whole build, I was like swapping my tree around, putting this jewel in, I was super excited about it, and now I'm just like, well, that's kind of a bummer. I'm sure this is a bug they'll fix. I don't think they want one of their new cool uniques they added to the game to be basically close to unusable because of how annoying it is to have to redo that every single zone you go into. But we'll see. I'm making this video in the hopes they fix it, because there's a lot of builds I want to make with this jewel, this league, and I really hope they fix this. We'll see. I don't know. Anyways, that is the bug I discovered. As for the build update, I changed the tree completely when going for this jewel, specifically to get basically as many jewel sockets as possible. You'll see these jewel sockets, 17% life, 37 crit multi. Pretty much anywhere where I can spend like 4 passives or 3 passes to get a jewel, it is worth picking these jewels up because of how powerful they are. And I actually designed my tree to pick up a ton of jewel sockets. Now, I'm not convinced this is the 100% correct way to do this. This is just what I initially came up with. I'm thinking it over and I'm thinking, oh, I think I could do that a little bit better. So I might change some things around, swap them, some things I'm thinking about right now, because I think there's some improvements I could make to this current system I have, which I will probably do today on stream as I play through the character. On top of that, there are other gear upgrades I make. Most importantly, this is the biggest thing I found out yesterday that I didn't know was a thing, which is the Helica ring. This ring is a base that deletes 2 prefixes, gives you 1 extra suffix, and it gives you 50% increase of suffix modifiers. This thing's incredible. I think this is competitive with almost as good as triple synth. I don't think it's quite as good as triple synth, but it's getting there. With this thing, you get very, very powerful suffixes. You'll see with T1 strength and T1 int, I have 90 plus of both. You'll see on my T1 cast speed, instead of 16 cast speed, I'm getting 24. And then on my all attribute roll, which would normally be 13, I'm getting 22 all attributes. Now, on my other ring, I have crit multi, for example, 30 plus crit multi, 80 plus strength, 80 plus int, and cast speed. That's a huge damage ring. But the idea for these rings is pretty simple. I'll tell you how to craft these. You do an Essence of Scorn until you hit, ideally you want to hit 2 other decent mods. If you hit just 1 other perfect mod like T1 strength or T1 int or whatever, if it's a 4 mod item and you can take a 50-50 on a fraction orb, I say go for it. The way it works is if you miss the fracture, you can then clean the base by using an augment orb plus an amethyst flask to do a vendor recipe to clean off the fracture, and then keep going with spamming essences. That's the way I went about this, is just do essence spam, get ourselves a decent mod, and then fracture a suffix. The way you're going to be able to finish the suffixes is if one of them is fractured, I think is the best way to craft it. Technically, you could just spam until you get an okay set of mods, and then just keep it and settle. But if you want to min-max it, I do recommend doing a fracture. And that's how we crafted these rings here. Helica ring, it's one of the new rare bases in Heist. Heist has a lot of incredible bases. I believe Simplex, for example, is the best in slot for this build. On the high end, a Simplex will beat this Eyes of Great Wolf. And I don't know, maybe I'll make one of those at some point. But I think for today, my goal is going to be getting 1, my chest 6 linked, and 2, swapping out of the Inevitable Judgment. I do think there's an idea here where we go for a a lightning pen as our 6th link, and we go for a additional curse anoint, this one right here, and then we combine that with the new Bane with Ellie weakness and conductivity, and then we swap these nodes to augmented penitence. I think this will be a massive damage increase to the character and massive single target damage bump, and that is a plan I plan on enacting today as well. So I have a lot of things I want to change with the character, swap around, and that's updates I'm going to make today. And then I think maybe tomorrow will be hopefully my final update on the character. And I'm praying that they fix the Adorned Jewel because there's a lot of other builds I want to make with it. And it would be nice if people could have an Adorned Jewel on this build as well because it's very, very good for it. Anyways, that is the video on the update of this character. That is the bug about the Adorned Jewel. Oh, and one more thing. As for updates on my gear, I also updated my boots a little bit. I upgraded those. And I went for the belt craft. I hate the belt craft. I hate the belt craft. I hate it. If I recommend anything to you, it's just wait as long as possible to do the belt craft. It's a process of spamming int essences until you hit high strength. Then you have to annul whatever garbage suffix it added with it. And then you have to benchcraft on a prefix. So you have 3 full prefixes and 1 benchcraft prefix. And all you have is an open suffix. And then you slam a hunter orb. It's a 1 in 7 to hit T1% attributes. I hit T2. I gave up. I had done like 5 of these things. It's torture. Don't do the bellcraft. It's the worst thing ever. But it also is a big way to improve your character. If you get it crafted, it can help you scale farther than you had before. All right. Anyways, real quick, gonna cut this into the video because I keep forgetting to go over it. And that's our Primalist Ascendancy. On this League Start, I said we're gonna start out with Oath of Magi and we're gonna swap into the Primalist. The Primalist charms are insane. For example, I would recommend going for percent strength plus strength in it. If you'll see, I'll take these things on and off. They make a big ES difference, the difference in 13.8k versus 14k. So they're a big improvement here. These strength and int essences, or these strength and int, not essences, charms. And then our last charm is more of a utility charm. I'm getting Cull and I'm getting Conk Ground Lingers. If you know anything about the Inquisitor Ascendancy, you'll know this node feels like garbage until you get Pious Path, because for whatever ungodly reason, it does not come with Linger, so you don't get the Linger until here. But point is, if you get Linger on your charm, this 2-second Linger, now all of a sudden you have good uptime on your Conk Ground, and this node becomes decent, because it gives you Conk Ground, it gives you 50% damage taken, so that's some regen, some curse reduction, and some damage taken, and then ultimately, when we swap this node over here, we'll have a nice set of 4 Ascendancy points there, and it'll work out great. So ideally, you want some combination of strength in it, percent strength. You want to combine that with a Cull or a Conk Ground, mix it in where you can. Those are the charms I recommend going for. The thing is, there's a lot of other good charms. I would look at the list and then set yourself up a count filter where you're looking for 2 out of like 20 good mods you like, and then shop around to get yourself some decent charms at a decent price. That is what I would recommend. Anyways, that's the charms. And then, one other thing I forgot to mention, which is not Emperor's Mastery. I'm actually probably going to take this out of the build. I think it's, with my Adorned tree, I think a Magic Jewel actually beats this, and I'm planning to drop some some jewel sockets and stuff. I need to talk about that which was taken. This new jewel is probably the strongest jewel in the game, or close to it, in terms of your unique jewel slot that has a lot of cool mods it can have on it. Ours, we have Frenzy on hit, which is basically 12% more damage, 12% cast speed, along with 7% strength. And we have some curse effect. I would recommend it's a combination of 4 potential whatever mixture of random mods you want from the pool. I'd recommend shopping around, see what you can find, but there are some really good combinations. That which was taken, an amazing strong jewel. Think of it as a Watcher's Eye, except maybe a little bit on steroids, because this thing can have some really, really strong mods. All right, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching. Peace out.